Ghost of a Memory by Phoenix Boy. Chapter 3. A few weeks later, James took his place somewhat apprehensively at the large table that had materialized overnight in the middle of the staff room for the start of term meeting. He smiled politely to Minerva and looked around. Everyone seemed to be there except Severus, but the Gryffindor head of house had informed James of his odd habit of arriving precisely on time, never early, never late. Albus stood at his place at the head of the table, smiling benevolently at them all, an expression that sent most of them into fits of apprehension. He only wore that particular expression when what he was about to propose was so outrageous he would have to ram it down their throats.
"Are we all here?"
he asked, hoping against the odds that he'd be able to start early and return to refolding his sack collection. "Severus," Minerva said. It needed no further explanation.
"Ah,"
Albus said, looking at his new muggle watch as the Hogwarts bell began to chime the hour.
"He'll be here soon, then."
Precisely as the last chime sounded, the door opened. Severus strode in, not a hint of apology in his bearing, nodded curtly to them all, and took his seat next to James.
"Let's begin, then,"
the headmaster said.
"Our new prefects were decided last term, of course. Someone should provide James with the list, and they should have been notified by now."
"We know that, Albus. It's all been sorted," Minerva said, sounding exasperated.
"Excellent. For those of you who haven't met him yet, our new Defense Against the Dark Arts professor is James Evans, a graduate of Griffin University, Merlin House. He'll also be attached to Slytherin House. Let's wish him better luck than previous holders of the position."
Albus beamed down the table at him. James flushed as everyone turned to look at him. Well, all except Professor Binns, who had a certain detachment from present events at the best of times, and Severus, who saw no need to examine a man he'd already met and found considerably lacking in many areas.
"So our first event of the term will be the Harry Potter Day Festival."
James blanched at that, though he hit it well. Harry Potter Day? Had he missed this while he was at the university? How was he meant to cope with this? Didn't his friends have any sense?
That is naturally October 17th, the day that Mr. Potter destroyed Voldemort. We will be hosting the usual 3 days of festivities. The first day is dedicated to the dead, with a memorial service in the grounds, followed by a banquet in the Great Hall. The second day will commemorate those who survived, and many of them will be speaking to us and giving short workshops in their fields for the students and any adults interested in attending. The last day is devoted to Harry Potter. I have persuaded some of his friends to speak of him. That afternoon, there will be the usual Quidditch match between present and past pupils of the school, and we will end with a banquet.
Alice, you need to select another teacher to manage the past pupils' Quidditch team, Rolinda Hooge reminded him. We agreed that I'd only do the present team.
Minerva, would you like to take it on?
Thank you, Albus, but no, having my Quidditch days are long past, she said, excusing herself rapidly.
Do any of the rest of you play?
Too small, Fiddletwick murmured. My inner eye has foreseen disaster should I take to the skies, Trelawney said in her usual misty, dreamy voice. Most undignified, Sinistra said, sniffling. Couldn't possibly, Albus. You know what I'm like on a broom, Sprout said, smiling at the memory. No, Severus said bluntly. Albus James is an extremely proficient player, Minerva said innocently. He scowled at her, looking, had he known it, remarkably like Severus.
Marvelous! My dear boy, do you suppose you could take it on? It seems the rest of us have talents, well, that lie elsewhere. It's hardly an onerous task.
James sighed. Okay.
Thank you. We can talk about more detailed arrangements, room sport keys and the like, later. The next event will be Halloween, at which we will have our normal feast in the evening. After that, I fear there is nothing else until the start of next term, when we have the Hogmanay Ball at the beginning of January. To adapt for this, we are starting and finishing the winter break a week earlier this year.
What horrors do you have for us this year? Severus asked sourly.
I thought perhaps a little costume ball, compulsory dressing up, of course. The children love them, and it encourages their imaginations. When I think of how young Mr. Whitby came as Voldemort, it must have been 5 years ago now, and scared half the school into screaming. I haven't laughed so much in years. It will be compulsory for staff as well.
What? came from a number of people. Albus's face displayed what on another man might have been termed a smirk.
There won't be compulsory attendance, of course.
He reassured them. They relaxed.
Except for those people I have chosen as chaperones. I will be attending myself, naturally. Accompanying me will be James Evans, Augusta Vector, Wilhelma Grubby Blank, and Severus Snape.
Not a chance, Albus, Severus said firmly. I will happily patrol the corridors, but there is no way I am attending this spectacle of yours.
I'm so sorry, Severus, but I'm afraid that's my final word. The arrangements have already been made. I'm most terribly sorry. I seem to have forgotten to mention the Inner House Quidditch tournament. The first match will be in November, Gryffindor versus Ravenclaw. January will see Hufflepuff versus Slytherin. Gryffindor versus Slytherin will be in March, and Hufflepuff versus Ravenclaw will be in May. The usual rules apply to those. Rolanda is forbidden to give extra coaching to any team, but anyone else who chooses to may, if requested to do so by the team in question. Finally, if anyone happens to be interested in finding out the updated list of all banned items, they should ask Mr. Filch. I believe, however, that the entire stock of Weasley's Wizard Wheezes is forbidden to the students. Most inventive pranksters Hogwarts has seen since the Marauders, James. That's all for now. You may leave.
James stood with relief and hastily left, followed closely by Severus. I hope you know what you've let yourself in for, the other man warned him. Organizing the past Quidditch team is one of the worst jobs. You have to select a team, contact them, arrange training sessions, and coach them. Minerva volunteered 1 year, Merlin knows why, and gave up after the first session. She, I might remind you, remembers every one of the potential players personally. You will have to do some research. Good evening to you, Mr. Evans. I will see you when the students arrive tomorrow, I imagine. James groaned as he watched the other man sweep away. He was right. What had he let himself in for?